Hi, good day everyone. I'm Simon Dawson, Senior Lecturer at Cardiff Met University. Welcome to my short interviews with industry specialists where I ask how they got into their field of work, the essential skills that they use and any of the advice they can offer students during their studies or when they graduate. Today I'm joined by Gwenda Jarrett, the Global Food and Beverage Manager, Project Manager for DNV GL. Gwenda, welcome and thank you for talking to me today.
Morning, Simon. You're very welcome.
Thank you. First, I'd like to ask if you can explain a little bit about who you are and what you do, please.
Okay, so my name is Gwenda Jarrett. I work in the certification industry now. I've been in the industry 32 years, which has been a very interesting time. Started off doing food science as my first degree. My master's is in food analysis and composition. I then worked in industry. I did a sandwich course, which was very, very interesting. Probably the best course to do a sandwich course because you had some industry experience in the security of college. So when I did my experience, I worked in a public analyst laboratory in London, and they invited me back to fund my master's and for my first job. So I went there, best job ever. I'll explain that in a second. Did my master's in food analysis and composition. I then went to work for H.J. Heinz company. I usually say the ketchup people usually know they are. I was food research manager. I then went working, that was in Wigan. I went to work then in Cardiff in Memory Lane Cakes, which is part of Pillsbury or Grand Metropolitan at the time. I was a pan-European supplier auditor. That's where I started my auditing career. Then I worked for RSSL. RSSL was a wholly owned subsidiary of Cadbury Schweppes. After about 6 years, when I ran their certification body for BRC, I moved into the global organisation as Global Quality and Food Safety Manager for 65 plants globally.
Wow.
Then worked down in Australia on an assignment, won Craft Bought Cadbury's. I was repatriated back to the UK, and I've been now in DNV for 9 years. Yeah, wow.
Wow, fantastic. So, can I ask, what made you decide to join the food industry then?
Okay, so I grew up in South Wales, in Ebervale, and we had a very progressive school, and they had a careers evening, and the public analyst for, it must have been Gwent at the time, came to school and said what he did, and I thought, science, that's what I'd like to do. Also, and to be brutally honest, I thought people will never want to eat a tablet. They will always want to eat food, because I grew up around the time of kind of astronauts and things like that. Well, a bit later than the astronauts. But I never thought people would be sufficed with eating little portions of pills and liquids and stuff, that they would always want to eat. So I thought I'd always have a career. During that career, I've seen the world. I've travelled the world. I've seen things I would never, ever been exposed to before. So it's been one of the best careers.
Wow. So just on that note, Gwenda, you've travelled all over the world. Is there any sort of memorable, like standout moments during this time?
Absolutely. I mean, I've seen from the depths of India and Pakistan to China, Russia. There's some really, really great plants, some bad plants that I've been to. One of the most interesting things I've seen as an auditor going around the world is not probably food. It was how a razor blade is made. That was probably one of the most incredible things I saw. But I've seen some great products. I've seen some amazing situations, some awful situations. I've been involved in post-listeria, big cases where large numbers of people have been killed, to do reviews of post-incident hygiene cleaning. I was involved in the salmonella product recall in Cadbury's UK Limited in 2007. I was part of the cleanup crew. Literally, I looked after the deck for cleaning post salmonella. To work in an organisation where the checkbook is open is amazing. There was no limit on money because they had to protect their business. Yeah, I've seen some amazing things, and you wouldn't think when you go to some of what we would class as maybe the third world countries, they got their production down well. People say, oh, the UK must be great. No, you want to go to some of the other countries and see what can really be done in difficult situations. I went to a factory that was next Sony television factory, which they turned into a candy factory, and had huge mistakes. I had no drains, no water. Everything was coming down from the ceiling. They had no drains to take any water away. So every day there were men there sweeping up water, cleaning water. You know, that they tried their absolute best in the worst conditions because the factory was just not fit for purpose. And that was in Thailand, yeah.
So when you're doing this sort of job, you know, that as an auditor and what you're doing now, what kind of essential skills then do you use on a regular basis?
So from my food safety studies, understanding microbiology, using HACCP risk assessment principles, that's probably something I use every day. But it's more than that. It's actually knowing about the chemistry of food, and actually being able to go all the way back to the components of food and to see where the risks could be. Within the course I did, because I studied at South Bank Poly as it was then, we did science and society, we did economics, we did lots of units outside the science and technology units, management units, influencing skills, interview skills, listening skills. That's what I use on a day-to-day basis, but without the basis of food safety. HACCP is the lifeblood of our industry, but hygiene and cleaning are probably the most poorly understood and respected parts of our business. I went to give a guest lecture at a university in the UK, and they had 20 odd students in front of me, and I said to them, what do you want to do? Oh, we want to do product development. We want to wear little white coats and use test tubes and make products. And I said, who's going to clean that factory where you make the product? Oh, I'll be a graduate, not me. My first job in industry, I had Wellington boots, a hairnet. I was in the factory at 5 o'clock in the morning. The most valuable thing is knowing not what to clean, but how to clean. Right. And why to clean. So cleaning is something they do much better in the US. They have sanitation masters. I worry about the industry that we are losing skills, particularly in factory hygiene. Understanding factory hygiene.
So that seems to be one of the critical areas.
Oh, I'm a food safety auditor 2020. We are still finding issues with cleaning in factories. You go into a factory and ask to see their environmental monitoring program. They don't know what they're doing, why they're doing, what to do with the results. They're collecting data. And that's 2020. And we're still getting product recalls. So there's always a job in the industry.
God, yeah, I was going to say, it sounds like quite an interesting thing. You're like the food police.
We try not to be, because that's what they think we are, and we're not. As a third party auditor and a second party auditor, but actually sometimes it's amazing when you go to these factories how little people really know. They've fallen into being quality managers and technical managers without actually having the background. I remember going to a very, very large beverage company called the Red Company. We won't say who they are. And I interviewed the food safety team leader, and I said, what is your experience? I know nothing, he said. I'm a personnel manager who went into production, who then led maintenance. He said, I know nothing about food safety, but what I do know is how to surround myself with people who know, which is very good. But as the influencer in food safety in an organization, you've got to be able to interpret what people are telling you. So it's very good to progress within a business, but you need to have a grounding in food safety. So yeah. Microbiology, physical, chemical contaminants, yeah. That's where we're getting our food safety issues.
I see. So from like a student point of view, is there any sort of extracurricular activities that you think that could help them, you know, progress within a career?
Get out into the industry and work. Do a summer job if you possibly can. I know that's very difficult. make sure that you're well grounded in the basics, how a factory works, what does a factory need to work, cleaning, engineering, understand hygienic maintenance, hygienic engineering. Even if you go into product development, even if you go into management, you're going to have to understand how a factory works. What is a dead leg? How the valves work? Be familiar. Get down. Get into the factory. When I started in Memory Lane Cakes in Cardiff, I remember that my first week I had to spend on the production line making cakes, Mr. Blobby cakes, and the, what was it? It was a mallow cake with a cherry in the middle. And I couldn't get the cherry in the middle, like these ladies who've been doing it for 20 years. And they could talk, laugh, joke, and put the cherry in the middle of the cake, and I couldn't. So it showed that I didn't have that concentration. They could do that. Everybody in a factory has a place, but you've got to know how a factory works. So from a student point of view, it's not about really going into the nice jobs, maybe of product development straight away. It's getting into a factory, know how they work, so that when you develop a product, you understand how the factory supports you.
That's it. That's really good advice. That. So for any current students or those that are graduating, what kind of top tips would you give them regarding their CV or cover letter in order to get them, the foot in the door for their first interview?
Be enthusiastic. Don't show just your academic knowledge, but show how you can apply that, but also your passion for food. We will always have jobs. You're in a career where you'll always have a job, because there'll always be the next issue. It's a fast-moving industry, but be enthusiastic. I do a lot of interviews, and in the last few months during COVID, I've been interviewing a number of people to be auditors. And they sit in front of me and they say, yeah, I work in a company that we've got a BRC certificate. I could be an auditor. Not quite the same. They don't know the absolute depths of an industry. They don't understand, particularly auditing, which is what I do now. Auditing, you've got to be a jack of all trades, maybe master of none, but you've not got to be able to listen and know the things to question. But be enthusiastic in the cover letter, and make sure that you think about how the industry works, what the future of the industry is. There's lots of talk now about sustainability, but if you can't get a factory clean, you can see I've got a particular emphasis. But if you can't get a factory clean, doesn't matter where you get your raw materials from, we can't make good product from in a dirty factory or with poor products. Get to know about the supply chain. Be very conscious of food safety is still the big issue. Make sure you're well versed in HACCP and you understand the risks.
Fantastic. Gwenda, it's been great talking to you today. It's been fascinating listening to your career path, a lot of information about food safety, HACCP, quality management systems. So thank you. Good luck with your role in DNV GL, and I hope to talk to you again soon.
Thank you, and good luck to the students.
Thank you.
Thanks.